All right, Tita. So, what is a song that reminds you of authentic love?
Um, it is Imagine by John Legend.
Lennon? You mean John Lennon?
I mean, Imagine by John Lennon.
Okay, so why does it remind you of authentic love?
It reminds me of authentic love because Lennon is describing a world, an ideal world without hate. He's also singing about a world where there's only one race, which he talks about as the brotherhood of man. So it's a world with peace, without fighting, without war, no possessions, nothing to fight over.
So you're saying it's basically about just total harmony
Yes.
and respecting and wanting the best for others.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay, so how are the relationships you have in your life, love giving and life giving?
I feel that, like for example, with my mom, or my parents in general, they are both love-giving and life-giving. Considering that I have been through things throughout my past, things like that, and I feel that over time, God has blessed me with the love from my parents, and also, with the life that I do have to, appreciate the things that are around me, things like that. And I feel like friends also teach me, how to respect authority and also how to respect others, mutually. So, yeah.
Thank you for your answers. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All right, so how are the relationships you have in your life right now, love giving and life giving?
Love giving is pretty awesome because I have parents that love me and I love people back. And life giving is just a blessing because I know God's with me.
Yeah. So like what we talked about in my religion class was a lot of like about in regards to this is that the relationships we have are supposed to foster like love for other people around us and respect for dignity. So like, do you feel like those relationships help you with that?
Yeah, I feel like it does because with dignity and pride, it like sort of kills our relationship with God. But if we have faith and integrity, we could overcome a lot of stuff.
All right, thank you, man. I appreciate you answering my questions. Okay, so how can we treat our own bodies and other people's bodies as sacred?
Not get tattoos. Put tattoos on our bodies.
Is there anything else that you think would because what we talked about in our religion class was like respecting each other's bodies and their own decisions of what to do with them. So it's like in regards to sexuality, respecting their wishes for abstinence and stuff like that. So do you feel like that also is part of it?
Yeah.
Can you elaborate as to why?
I haven't been in class or anything. I've been gone. Elaborate as to why?
Yeah, just like...
Because if somebody doesn't want you touching them, you shouldn't touch them.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so my question to y'all is, what is human sexuality?
Human sexuality is being with whoever you love.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Human sexuality is being with whoever you love.
All right. Would anyone else like to chime in?
I mean, like she says, being with who you love or who you feel comfortable with at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I got.
What state of gender you are in God's eyes. God made man and woman the way they are now, so they shouldn't change themselves to be someone else.
Okay.
I don't know how to answer this. Can
Oh.
you start over?
No, don't worry about it. That's the whole point of this, is just to see different people's opinions about it. And it's understandable that you don't know because we talked about it in class and everyone was pretty much had a different opinion based off it. But what we kind of agreed upon was that like it's a gift from God. We're all made to have a certain like image and aspects. And there's not only a physical aspect of it, but there's also a spiritual part too. So it's like we are called to respect each other's like sexuality and offer them the basic dignities that they deserve.
Right.
All right, so to continue from where we left off at, I'm gonna ask y'all, what does God have to do with sexuality? So start off with Renee.
God gave us our sexuality for a reason. It must be all part of His plan. So if God blessed us enough to give us a certain sexuality, I think we should leave it the way it is as He gave it to us.
Okay. What about you, Tyson?
God provides that spiritual connection that you will have with your significant other, and that's pretty much it.
What about you, Jazz?
God has to do with that sexuality because He's the one that gave it to us. So be the one that takes it away. So you should keep it how it is, how Renee said.
Keep it how it is. Okay, I understand where you guys are all coming from, and I already told you guys how I felt about it, where it's that dignity aspect where we have to respect someone on a spiritual level, you know? So that's where my take on sexuality is, because I feel like it extends beyond the physical noticing of someone's traits, you know? And that's a lot what we talked about in my religion class, and I appreciate you guys speaking up and answering these questions for me. Thank you.
When you declare not to have sex ever.
Can you elaborate on that? Like explain more?
When you devote more of your time to God than having sexual interactions with other humans.
Thank you. All right, so what is the difference between chastity and abstinence?
Chastity is respecting someone who does not want to have sex, respecting anything to do with life, and abstinence is holding out from sex until marriage.
All right, thank you for your answers. All right, so what do you guys think authentic love is?
Well, I think that it's sacrificing things for someone and just giving your all to a person. And
I think that authentic love should come from inside, and whatever comes to you, you know, like besides giving your all, being there for supporting the person, loving the person, caring for that person, and anything you could possibly do to help the other person succeed.
So you're saying that it's not like it's not limited to just like a boyfriend or something. It's for everyone, right?
To anyone. It could be to a stranger, you know. Like, you don't love that person right away, but you can get to know that person and as well love them.
Okay. What about you, Michelle?
To me, love is like family.
Can you like elaborate on that, please? Like.
When it comes.
Okay, all right, come on.
Well, when it comes, it's basically like
when it comes to family, like you have bigger love to them. Like when it comes to relationships, like boyfriend and girlfriend, if he like loves you for who you are, then that's love, yeah.
love is everything. Love is God. Love is what He has done for us and why we're here now.
Okay, so I don't mean to put you on the spot, but can I ask you, what do you mean by love is God again? Like can you go into detail about that?
Like, for example, He's basically our world. Like, obviously He created us, and I think that He sacrificed Himself for us. And like I was saying before, sacrificing yourself for someone, or you know, like Jasmine said, you know, loving and caring for them is just the most prestigious thing you can do for a person.
All right, thank you guys so much for answering this. Appreciate it. All right, so how can teens today positively change the perception of sexuality?
Well, I think first we have to address what the perception of sexuality is first in order to change it, or at least, you know, understand what it is. And I think probably the most problematic perception we have of sexuality right now is probably commodity, meaning we kind of use our sexuality as a means to accomplish something or to achieve something, as something that can be traded in a way. And that's really problematic, and we use it as a source of power in the wrong way. I think our sexuality can absolutely be powerful, but right now the perception is like we want to exploit one another's sexuality. Where young men want to exploit young women's sexuality, or young women want to do the same to young women, to young men, in a way that empowers them, the wrong type of empowerment. And in order to change that perception of kind of this negative sexuality, where it's like, no, you can't have mine, or I want yours for some ulterior motive, is number one, to be careful of what we listen to. I think that's probably the most pervasive way to change the perception, is when we're listening and filling our minds and our souls with all of this negative ideas of sexuality that we hear in popular music and even popular culture. That becomes problematic. and it alters and changes and shapes our own perceptions. And then if we, at least, at the very least, if we're not going to stop consuming that, at least if we think critically about it, if we think critically about how sexuality is represented, then at that point we can begin to change the perception. And owning your sexuality in a positive way, and not just a way that's going to commodify you or make you an object, but in a way where you're comfortable with your sexuality no matter what, and it's not relative. Your sexuality is not, I'm sexual in this way because it's going to attract or detract someone else. But it is, this is my sexuality because that's what it is. Naturally for myself, that's what it is. And that's empowering, and to be comfortable with that. And talking about it openly. We can't change the perception of sexuality if we're all silent about it. And having open but healthy discussions, and discussions where we're not only thinking critically, like I said before, but talking about it in ways that are meaningful, and we're not scared to talk about the stuff that we find to be creepy as teenagers or embarrassing as teenagers, and just allowing a healthy discussion. When we're comfortable about things, we can then be empowered by them and grow. Not just in our sexuality, but I think that's going to lead to growth in general, just for humanity.
All right. Yeah, and I agree with that last part too, because like when we were in class, we talked about it, and there were some parts that were really uncomfortable for everybody, and the most of what we came up with for what human sexuality was based off pure physical and greed, essentially. So I completely understand where you're coming from with it.
And to get rid of the shame. We need to just, I think that's kind of what we're saying, is to get rid of the shame associated with sexuality. But part of the reason why we are ashamed about sexuality is because of the images in the media that we see. And we see everything about sexuality as being owned and taken advantage of and used in such a disrespectful and not embarrassing but uncomfortable way. And if we want to change the perception, not only do we have to stop being ashamed, but we also have to respect other people's sexuality and respect it as theirs, and something that cannot be coveted or taken or appropriated or used up. And I think we do too much of the using up of both other sexuality and our own. So get rid of the shame first. Be mindful and critical of what we listen to and what we watch and what's shaping our own perception of sexuality, and then talk about it in healthy, appropriate ways.
Okay, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.